In an old medieval town, there stood a strange stone tower. It rose above the rooftops like a silent watcher, staring down at the narrow streets and the small wooden houses below. Travelers noticed it from far away, long before they reached the town gates. But this tower was different from any other tower. It had no doors, no windows, no stairs. Its stone walls were smooth and cold, stretching straight up into the sky, as if the tower had been carved from a single massive block of rock. No one in the town knew who built it. The oldest records in the town hall said nothing about it. The priests had no answers. Even the oldest villagers claimed the tower had always been there. But something strange happened every night. When the town grew quiet, when the torches faded and the streets emptied, a deep sound echoed through the darkness. From inside the tower came the slow, heavy sound of a bell, and no one knew who was ringing it. At first, people thought it was just the wind. Old buildings creak. Wooden doors shake in the night. Strange sounds are common in ancient towns. But the bell was different. It rang every night, always at the same time. One slow strike, then silence. The sound rolled through the empty streets like distant thunder. The villagers would stop whatever they were doing. Some crossed themselves in fear. Some quickly shut their windows. Others pretended not to hear it at all. Children were warned never to go near the tower. The elders whispered old stories by the fire. They said the tower was cursed. They said it was built long ago by someone who wanted to hide something too dangerous for the world to see, and that the bell was not ringing by itself. Someone, or something, was still inside. Among the townspeople lived a young blacksmith's apprentice named Thomas. Thomas was not like the others. While most villagers avoided the tower, Thomas could not stop thinking about it. He spent his days working in the forge, hammering iron beside the old blacksmith. Sparks flew through the air while the fire roared in the furnace. But even while he worked, his mind wandered. Why was there a bell inside the tower? Who rang it every night? And if no one could enter the tower, how did the sound come from within? The questions refused to leave him. One evening, after finishing his work, Thomas climbed the hill behind the town. From there, he could see the tower clearly under the pale moonlight. He watched it carefully, waiting, listening. And when the bell finally rang again, Thomas noticed something no one else had ever seen. The moon hung high above the silent town. Its pale light stretched long shadows across the empty streets. Thomas kept his eyes fixed on the tower. When the bell sounded, the tower's shadow slowly shifted across the ground. At first, it seemed like an ordinary shadow. But then Thomas noticed something strange. The shadow did not fall randomly. It stretched across the town square, slowly moving across the cobblestones, until it pointed directly at something standing in the center of the square. An old stone well. Thomas felt a chill run through his body. The tower's shadow was pointing straight at the well, and it did the same thing the next night, and the night after that. That was no coincidence. It was a sign. The well stood in the center of the square, older than most buildings in the town. Its stones were worn smooth by centuries of use. During the day, villagers gathered there to draw water and share gossip. But at night, The square was empty. The well looked darker, deeper, almost as if it were watching. Thomas waited until the entire town had fallen asleep. No lights burned in the windows. No footsteps echoed on the streets. Only the wind moved through the quiet town. He slowly stepped into the square and approached the well. The tower loomed behind him like a silent giant. Thomas leaned over the edge and looked down. At first, he saw only darkness. Then, far below, something caught the faint glow of the moonlight. A piece of old iron. And suddenly, Thomas realized something shocking. The well was hiding something. Something that had been hidden there for centuries. Thomas stared into the darkness of the well for a long moment. The faint piece of iron far below reflected the moonlight again, just enough to prove that it was real. His heart began to beat faster. Something had been hidden down there. Something no one in the town had ever noticed. He looked around the empty square. The town was silent. No one was watching. Slowly, Thomas tied a rope to the wooden frame of the well. His hands trembled slightly as he lowered himself down into the cold stone shaft. The walls were damp and rough, and the air grew colder the deeper he descended. After a few moments, his feet touched the ground. Thomas lifted his small torch and looked around. What he saw made him freeze. At the bottom of the well, hidden behind thick shadows, stood an ancient iron door built into the stone wall. Rust covered its surface, and strange symbols were carved into the surrounding rock. This was not part of the well. Someone had built this here, on purpose. For a moment, Thomas hesitated. Every story he had heard as a child echoed in his mind. The cursed tower, the warning bell, the unknown builder. But curiosity pushed him forward. He reached out and slowly pushed the iron door. With a long, heavy groan, the door opened. Beyond it stretched a narrow underground tunnel. The air inside was colder and carried the faint smell of dust and old stone. Thomas stepped inside carefully, holding his torch high as the iron door slowly creaked shut behind him. The tunnel seemed ancient. The walls were built from carefully placed stones, darkened by time. Every few steps, old metal holders were fixed to the walls, as if torches had once burned there long ago. Someone had used this passage many years before. Thomas continued walking deeper. The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of his footsteps and the soft crackle of the torch. Then suddenly, he heard it. The bell. This time it sounded louder than ever before. The deep metallic sound echoed through the tunnel, vibrating through the stone walls and the floor beneath his feet. Thomas stopped. The sound was coming from somewhere ahead. That meant only one thing. The tunnel led directly inside the tower. He continued moving forward, slower now, feeling the tension growing in the air around him. The tunnel began to rise slightly, turning into a narrow staircase carved directly into the stone. Step by step, Thomas climbed upward. The bell rang again. Closer, much closer. At the top of the stairs, a large circular chamber opened before him. Thomas stepped inside and lifted his torch. His eyes widened in disbelief. The inside of the tower was not empty. Huge iron chains hung from the ceiling. Massive gears and mechanical wheels filled the walls, connected by thick rods and ancient mechanisms that looked older than anything he had ever seen. In the center of the chamber hung the enormous bell. slowly swinging, as if it had just been struck. But there was no one there. Thomas stepped further into the chamber, staring at the strange machine surrounding him. Dust covered most of the metal parts, yet something about the mechanism looked strangely alive, as if it had not been abandoned after all. Then he noticed something else. Near the base of the bell stood an old wooden chest, reinforced with thick iron bands. It looked heavy, ancient, and completely out of place among the towering gears. Thomas approached it slowly. His torchlight revealed carved symbols on the floor surrounding the chest, forming a circle of strange markings that he did not recognize. He knelt beside the chest and brushed away a layer of dust. On the metal lock was a small engraved message. Thomas leaned closer to read it. The words were written in old letters, almost worn away by time, but he could still understand them. Whoever opens this chest will change the fate of the city. Thomas felt a cold wave run through his body. He looked around the silent tower chamber once more. The chains hung motionless, the gears stood frozen, and the bell slowly stopped moving above him. For a long moment, Thomas did nothing. Then he placed his hands on the lid of the chest and slowly began to open it. Thomas slowly lifted the lid of the ancient chest. For a moment, nothing happened. The heavy wood creaked softly as it opened, and a cloud of old dust drifted into the air. Thomas leaned closer, raising his torch to see what had been hidden inside the tower for centuries. Inside the chest lay several objects wrapped in faded cloth. He carefully moved the cloth aside. The first thing he saw was an old parchment map. The edges were worn and yellow with age, but the drawing was still clear. It showed the town from above, the walls, the streets, the market square, and the river that curved around the hills. But there was something strange about the map. Lines and symbols had been drawn across it, connecting different parts of the town like a hidden network. Thomas stared at it in confusion. Then he noticed the second object. A metal seal, heavy and cold, engraved with the symbol of a crown. It was the royal mark. Only the king's messengers and trusted officials carried such seals. Thomas's hands trembled slightly. Why would something like this be hidden inside the tower? He reached deeper into the chest. At the bottom lay a folded letter, protected by a small piece of leather. The seal on the letter had been broken long ago, but the parchment itself remained intact. Thomas slowly opened it. The writing was old and careful, the ink faded but still readable in the torchlight. He began to read. The letter told a story almost no one in the town remembered anymore. 300 years ago, the kingdom had faced a terrible threat. Enemy armies had been moving across the land, conquering city after city. Many towns had been destroyed because their defenses were too weak. But the king had ordered the construction of something secret, a hidden mechanism, a machine designed to protect the town if the enemy ever returned. The tower was not just a tower. It was part of a massive defensive system built beneath the entire city. The gears and chains Thomas had seen inside the tower controlled gates, barriers, and hidden structures buried deep under the streets. If the mechanism was activated, the town could seal itself from invasion within minutes. Bridges would collapse, hidden walls would rise from the ground, and secret tunnels would close forever. But the letter ended with a warning. The mechanism had never been activated, not once in 3 centuries. The builders feared the power of the machine. If someone used it without understanding the system, it could trap the people of the city inside their own walls. Or worse, destroy parts of the town itself. Thomas lowered the letter slowly. The tower was silent around him. Above his head, the great bell hung in the darkness. Then he noticed something written at the bottom of the letter, a final line, short, clear. The guardian of the tower must decide when the city must be protected. Thomas felt his chest tighten. Guardian. The word echoed in his mind. The bell suddenly moved again, very slightly. The chain above it shifted with a quiet metallic sound. Thomas looked up. For the first time, he noticed the large iron lever attached to the ancient mechanism beside the bell. A thick chain ran from the lever into the machinery that filled the tower walls. Dust covered most of the metal parts, but the lever itself looked cleaner, as if it had been touched not long ago. Thomas stood slowly. His torch flickered in the dark chamber. The bell moved again, swinging gently back and forth. And in that moment, a terrifying thought entered his mind. What if the bell had not been ringing by itself all these years? What if the tower had been waiting for someone brave enough to open the chest and finish the work that had been left unfinished for 300 years? Thomas stood beside the ancient mechanism, staring at the massive iron lever. The tower was silent again. Above him, the great bell slowly stopped moving, swinging gently in the dark chamber. He looked down at the letter in his hand one last time. The guardian of the tower must decide when the city must be protected. For 300 years, no one had touched this machine. No one had opened the chest. No one had understood what the tower was truly built for. Thomas slowly walked toward the lever. His footsteps echoed softly across the stone floor. He placed his hand on the cold iron handle. For a moment, he hesitated. He imagined the town above him, the quiet houses, the narrow streets, the people sleeping peacefully in their beds. They had no idea what was hidden beneath their city, and they had no idea that the fate of the town now rested in the hands of a young blacksmith's apprentice. Thomas took a deep breath. Then he pulled the lever. At first, nothing happened. The tower remained silent. But then, a deep metallic sound echoed through the chamber. The ancient gears began to move. Dust fell from the machinery as iron teeth slowly turned for the first time in centuries. Chains rattled above him. Hidden mechanisms awakened beneath the city, and suddenly the bell rang, louder than ever before. The powerful sound rolled across the town like thunder. Villagers woke in their homes, windows opened. People stepped outside, looking toward the hill where the dark tower stood against the night sky. Inside the tower, Thomas watched the giant mechanism slowly come to life. The system was working. The hidden defenses of the city were awake again. But as the gears continued turning, Thomas realized something important. The machine would not run forever by itself. Someone would need to stay. Someone would need to understand the tower, the mechanism, and the responsibility it carried. Someone would have to become its guardian. Thomas looked up at the ringing bell above him. Then he looked at the ancient machine surrounding him, and slowly he understood. The tower had never been empty. For 300 years, it had simply been waiting for someone brave enough to take its place.